Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Life Matters TV. I'm Tommy Stoffel, and today we're going to talk about a topic that's, of course, near and dear to our heart, my heart, another Life Matters. And the topic is titled Shine On, You Crazy Diamond. And it has to do with us, and it has to do with us inside and us showing up the way we're meant to show up. So before we get into that, I'd like to introduce my co-host, my Soul Talk guy partner, the producer, director, and co-star of the show, David McLeod. Hey, David.
Hey, good morning, Tommy. Hi, everybody. I'm coming to you today from Green Bay, Wisconsin. As you can see, I'm in a slightly different environment. I have a friend of mine who's hosting me here, and I'm here for a weekend retreat with a whole bunch of men. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited about being on this show because, as Tommy says, this is a really important topic. And I just want to remind you all that we have a website. It's called lifematterstv.com. That's life-matters-tv.com. And you can go there anytime. You can watch previous episodes. You can, check in, write your comments. We really would like your comments on our website and share it with other people. Get your friends to sign up for us. And so meanwhile, here we are. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Why would we want to do that?
Well, and first off, as you talked about before the show, how do we become a diamond, right? And what is a diamond? And as everybody knows from school, a diamond is crushed coal, which is pretty much crushed dirt. And it's crushed under so much freaking pressure that eventually becomes a diamond. And the symbology in there is true to us, right? Because I don't know about you, but I've been through some shit and some hell in my life. And sometimes I wonder, why did I have to go through all that? Why did I have to suffer so much? And why do people around me have to suffer so much? And so today we're going to kind of talk about that, because in last week's show, I felt that coming through with all of our guests. Everyone was talking about things they were celebrating, but also things they were letting go. And there was a lot of discussion in here about just really accepting who you are. And so let's dive into that. David, I don't know if any of that's hitting a chord or,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, as you talk about the crushing of the coal into the diamond, I mean, there's a huge amount of pressure. It's like, we have to put that pressure on in order to get the juice and the gold, the jewel, if you like, out of the diamond. And that's really what we're doing with ourselves as we go through our lives. We're creating situations, we're inviting in people, we're inviting in conditions, we're inviting in circumstances to give ourselves the opportunity to experience things. And we keep doing that until we don't need to do it anymore. But in the process of doing that, each time we do it, we kind of deepen our experience and get closer to the truth of who we are. So that in time, what happens is we feel more willing, more open, and maybe safer to reveal the truth of who we really are, so that we can actually start to bring benefit and value to the world. So I think it's a beautiful metaphor, and I'm just so excited that we're able to share that today.
Yeah, and I'll dig into that a little bit deeper too, right? Because each one of us can stand or sit or be where you are right now and look back on your life and see the stuff. And call it the pressure, right? Call it the pressure that's been creating you. And we've all been through different things. I can tell you my story. David can tell you his story. You have your own story. We've all been through it in a different way. And my question to me sometimes is what if this is all part of the plan? What if I came here to stand in front of you today and talk about this diamond concept, and to help you kind of realize that and feel that? And what if I had to go through a whole world of crap and hurt and crowded minds and misery to kind of get clear as a diamond, and to be able to share that? Now, what if that's true for you, right? What if you came here with that intention, with that purpose, and you had to go through the hard part? For me, that kind of separates me from my past a bit, and separates me from my suffering, and separates me from what I could look at as a misery. Oh, my life's been really screwed up. Well, yeah, maybe. But here you are. So it's kind of bringing this up to the surface to see if that resonates with anybody, to help you kind of look at it as something that you had to do to get here.
Yeah. And in fact, I think, that's part of what we've been teaching here is, everything we do is part of our own plan, even if we're not consciously aware of it. I believe, and I think you and I agree on this, is that on some level, we make a commitment to some kind of experience in this life, even before we transform from the spiritual into the physical. I think we make some kind of a pact or an agreement or something with other spiritual beings and say, I want to experience this in my life. I don't necessarily plan all the details of how that experience is going to come about, but I say, this is what I want to experience in this life. And somehow those other entities help to create that and help to make that happen, because maybe there's a way in which by showing up with me, I get to help them experience something as well. I think it's just a beautiful, magnificent way for us to fully experience life. And so the things that we think of as trials and tribulations may just be our ego mind telling us some story about it. It isn't necessarily good or bad. It's just what it is. So really everything is just, we have what is, we have what's here right now, and then we have our judgment about it, our story, the interpretation, everything else that we make up about it. So I think our real suffering comes from the story we make up, and not so much about the actual experiences. Although, sometimes experiences can be physically painful too.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle talks about, he says, to focus on your life, not your life situation or not your life story. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're bringing about here. That your life is right in this moment, and you're at this point in your life because you went through whatever trials and tribulations that maybe you even planned for yourself at some level. And I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she's really struggling. She's still in that struggle part. She's still in the hard part. She's coming out of it. She's coming out of it. And there's a lot of us coming out of it right now. Different stages of, out of the struggle, getting, head above water a little bit, and then you'll be able to swim. And she goes, I wish I had left myself some freaking clues.
I love that.
And I looked right into her eyes and I said, you did. And I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Because David, what you and I do on the show, I learn something from you every session, every time we get together. You say something, I'm like, aha, yeah. And so we're, we somewhere intended to meet. This is happening for a purpose. This is happening for a reason. And people say, there's so many coincidences happening in my life. That's a strange coincidence. Oh, that's synchronicity. Well, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
This is your plan meshing with other people's plans and coming together just as it was kind of intended to. Right. We didn't lay down the details like you said, but we set intention, and now we're crossing paths and we help each other along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, from that perspective, if we can just remember that, then we can also look at every situation, every person who comes into our life, every condition that happens to us, we can look at it as a gift.
Yeah.
And when we see it as a gift, then we can be grateful for it, because it's giving us an experience of ourselves that we might not otherwise get. So I think it's all part of the process of helping us to see ourselves for who we really are. And once we see ourselves for who we really are, then we can show ourselves for who we really are. And that's what we're doing here today, is we're encouraging people to see yourself for the amazing, beautiful jewel, that piece of gold that you are, and let other people see it too, And one thing that's true about diamonds, by the way, is every diamond has flaws in it. And it's actually the flaws that help to create the sense of perfection within them. Mm-hmm. So, you have flaws, enjoy them, revel in them. They're a gift for yourself, and they're a gift for everybody else. Bring them out.
Shine on, you crazy diamond. So, yeah, it's such a beautiful and going through the trials and tribulations, all right? Even today, even tomorrow, even this morning, we're always under stress, right? There's always some pressure going on, something going on. It's creating that diamond. It's creating you from coal into a diamond. Every situation, and you're right, David. If we can look at things that way, if we can look at what would be a problem as an opportunity, to grow, right? And we've talked about this before too. When something happens and it feels like, ow, that sucks, or somebody says something and it hurts your feelings, or somebody does something and it doesn't resonate with you. Well, that's an opportunity, like ding, 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 ding. That's like, oh, opportunity to learn something. And you go inside and you figure out what's, where your button is, what's troubling you, what part of that coal needs to be compressed a little more and become a diamond. So it plays out like that too, right? If we can, you're right. If we can start or continue seeing problems, trouble, challenges, life drama as opportunities to grow, get better, heal, and become your diamond, it's a great way to live, man. It's an awesome way to live.
Yeah, my ex-wife was a very wise woman in that regard. She had a very beautiful shamanistic energy about her. And she would talk about these situations, as they're showing up in her life. This is almost exactly how she would say it. She said, "Oh, great, another fucking opportunity for growth." She actually had an acronym. She would call it an AFOG. So I've always remembered that, and I think, that's absolutely true. That's exactly what it is. It's another fucking opportunity for growth. So take it, embrace it, and love it, because it's there to serve you in some way. And it's there to help you develop into that magnificent diamond that you are meant to be.
Dude, I want to say you did it again. A fog. Yeah, we're in a fog, but when you go into that fog and you blow the horn a little bit, you can start to clear the fog, right? The fog
that's right.
Starts to dissipate. So we want to call it coal crushing into a diamond. You want to call it clearing the fog. Yeah, it is looking at trouble, pain, suffering, loss, whatever it is that you feel is like, oh, this sucks. Again? Oh, I can't believe my car fucking broke again. I can't believe, I've got another bill that I can't pay. Opportunity. I'm sorry to say it, but opportunity. Next week, we're going to talk about letting go. This is all tied into this as well. So we'll continue that discussion. But man, a fog, another opportunity to grow. Banker for us. That's a brilliant one.
Yeah. Well, and so the real question is, what actually is suffering? We've been talking about this, and it seems to be a pretty universal experience, I think. I don't know of anybody who hasn't described pain of growth, and maybe even used the word suffering in their explanation. So we all seem to experience it, but what is it really? What is suffering? What do you think, Tommy?
Suffering is part of the kind of the delusions of our mind, right? Because there can come a point. I know people on this planet, and I learn from them. They're some of my teachers who seem to have transcended suffering. So I listen to them and I learn from them. What are they doing? Well, there's a lot of acceptance in there. There's a lot of looking at a problem as an opportunity. There's a lot. So at a point, this is going to sound painful to some people, at a point, suffering becomes a choice. Yep. Suffering is something we choose because we're in the habit of doing it. We're in the habit of looking for trouble. We're in the habit of misery loves company. We're in the habit of gossiping to churn up drama. So what is suffering? I don't know. We can let's keep talking about it. But that's the first thing that kind of came up is at some point suffering becomes a choice, and you realize you're choosing to suffer. And I don't correlate suffering to emotions. Like if somebody dies, let's say I lose somebody close to me, I'm gonna mourn, and I'm gonna cry, and I'm gonna feel it, and I'm gonna feel that loss, and I'm gonna get through it. It's gonna be one of these dips, but I'm not gonna hang on to it. Suffering, I think, is the choice to keep it in the bag, right? Oh, I lost again. Let me put another rock in my backpack. I'm gonna carry it around, and look at how much I can suffer. Suffering is almost a choice that I failed again. And it's not, you feel the rocks going in your bag, right? So I I have lots of emotion, and I have very deep, sorrowful emotions sometimes, but I don't consider them suffering anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps kind of think about what is suffering. What is suffering to you?
Well, I think you said it early on. You said suffering seems to be a product of the mind, and I totally agree with that. I think that when I have the whole story going on in my head, that's the thing that creates the suffering. I somehow get attached. I get hooked in. I get locked into this story, the cycle, the spin, everything that's going on in my head, and that creates more suffering than the actual emotion that might have come up because of something. So I think that, this whole notion of, you talk about relaxing the chatter. Well, that's really what I think we're talking about together, even though we haven't used those words yet. We're talking about noticing the stuff that's going on in our mind, our ego mind. And remember, this is something that I teach a lot, and that is the ego mind has one purpose in life, and that's to keep you safe. And sometimes part of its job in keeping you safe is it has to make up shit in order to get you to behave a certain way, to avoid a danger that it perceives that may or may not even be real. That's called rational lies. Your brain, your ego mind rationalizes, and it tries to convince you of things. The only way to stop that process is to sit back and observe. Just observe. And then when you hear the thought come up, you can just say, thank you for that thought. And just let it go. And then come back to your heart. Just keep listening and observing. Your brain, your mind is going to keep doing that. It's going to just keep cycling and cycling and cycling. If you don't pay attention to it, if you try to resist it, it's going to get worse. The idea is to recognize it, acknowledge it, love it, bless it. That's your ego mind's job. Thank you so much for trying so hard to keep me safe. I'm safe now, and I'm choosing to let go of that thought. So thank you. Just keep doing that. And before you know it, the ego mind just settles right down. You can get back into your heart, and suffering just disappears because you're no longer caught up in the past and the future of your mind. You're now right here, right now, where everything is perfect.
You did it again. Thanks. I sometimes feel like having just a moment of silence and let some of the things that you say, just let it settle into people, because that's where it needs to be. You said some things there about attachment, and we can go back to that, but I want to get into the observer aspect of what you said, the witness. Just witness it. That to me is my diamond self. My diamond self is the watcher. My diamond self is the witness, because my diamond self is not my ego mind. My diamond self is what recognizes that my ego mind is screaming and talking and chattering. So I sometimes put my ego mind up on, like I'm almost like watching a movie on a screen, and I'm just sitting in the audience eating popcorn.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's a great deal.
Because that's what it, if it wants to create drama, if it wants to create suffering, if it wants to create misery, if it wants to fight with somebody or argue, I'm just kind of watching it going, all right, you're going to, cause trouble for yourself, and you're going to pay the karmic price for what you're doing. But I can just sometimes sit back and watch the silliness that I do, right? That's my diamond self.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing that up. The whole watcher, observer, witness is what some of the teachers these days are calling it, the witness.
Yeah, but I think it's also important, Tommy, to remember that I don't think we should demonize our ego minds. I think that would be counterproductive, because the ego mind has a valuable purpose. I mean, it does help us navigate our way through this physical life, and that is critical. We have to be able to do that. And it gets caught up in cycles. And so really it's up to us, from our heart space, from our spiritual diamond space, as you're calling it, to just witness and love the ego and just say, thank you for all the wisdom that you bring me, and in monitoring the safety and keeping me safe. I am safe now, and I'm making this choice. Remember, it's like talking to a little child who just wants some attention and love. Well, you can love it, and you don't have to buy into its way of behaving. We can do that with our kids. Why can't we do it with our ego minds? Seems like a pretty straightforward thing to me. And by the way, I haven't still mastered that process. I'm still working on it. So don't make yourself wrong because you can't do it yet.
me too, man. I still watch it. I'm like, what did you just do? All right, come here. Let me give you a hug. Because
yeah, that's right.
As we talked about earlier was it's not, your ego mind is not a problem. Your ego mind is not trouble. Your ego mind is not suffering. It's doing stuff, but it's like a life situation. Treat that ego mind action and maybe misaction as an opportunity as opposed to trouble. Look at it as, something to grow from and learn from, as opposed to something to get guilty and sad and beat yourself up about. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's nothing wrong with your ego. You're right. You're absolutely right, David. It's just the way it's part of our behavior. It's part of what we learn how to interact and protect ourselves and interact with society, because it's kind of tough out there sometimes. And we have to have the barriers to put up when we need to. And sometimes, we can pitch back the way, if somebody punches us in the face, we punch them back, whether it's metaphorically or emotionally or physically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just part of who we are as humans. And I learned from that. That's when I said earlier, if I feel something that doesn't feel good, that's my diamond sense. Now we're making up terms, but that's my diamond sense. It's like saying it's my spider sense, right? It's my diamond sense saying, oh, something there I want to look at, something there I want to observe. Something about my ego that maybe I can love and hug and shift a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really awesome. And the other thing I want to just say is, I don't know about you, Tommy, but I have to do this over and over and over and over and over again. I have to, when I get caught up in my ego mind, first thing, I have to recognize that that's where I'm at. That's the first thing. The second thing is I have to take a breath and just kind of relax and not beat myself up because, oh, here I am caught up in my goddamn ego again. I have to just relax, be gentle with myself, start to love that ego, notice what it's saying, and try and stay connected to my heart. I have to do that. And the fact that I have to do it over and over again, I kind of liken that to the idea of, so I'm driving along in my horse-drawn buggy on the road, and of course there are lots of ruts in the road. And I want to take a turn off the road, I have to work hard to get off the ruts. And if I just happen to stay parallel to the ruts, it won't be long before I slide back into them again. So it's easy to fall back into the old habits. We really do have to work at it. Now, we only have to work at it for as long as we have to work at it. At some point, it will become easier. At some point, you'll say, oh, bang, now I can do it. I can get out of that rut now. And I can create a whole new set of neural pathways, a whole new way of thinking. I can change all my beliefs. It's not going to happen instantaneously unless it does.
Yeah, trailblazing, getting out there and blazing new trails and being brave and being courageous and understanding that that's part of the whole transformation. That's part of the whole crushing that coal into diamond. It's, there's hard parts, we fall back into it. There's, we can really much, if we're in that habit growing up, which a lot of us are, of self-blame and feeling guilty and feeling shame, that's one of the habits, that's a rut too. And to pop out of that rut on top of the rut, right, takes even more skill. But yeah, David, I work on it all the time. I'm always watching, I'm always observing, what's going on. And again, my indicators that I'm in a rut again is I feel it. I feel it somewhere in my body. I feel like it doesn't feel right, or I feel a pit in my stomach, and those are my indications to get out of the rut again. Yeah. But here's one thing too, and talking about your ego and talking about hugging it and forgiving it. Joanne is the queen of this, but really this whole concept of forgive yourself, forgive your ego, for it really doesn't know what it's doing. Mm-hmm. Forgive yourself for you know not what you do. We need to have a dose of that as well. When my ego flies off the handle and snaps at somebody and fires off some because I've had it up to here and I can't take anymore. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to look inside and see what I can do to kind of, find what the root cause of that one was. But I'm going to be gentle with myself, and I'm going to say, Tommy boy, we did it again. We slipped back into the rut. That's okay. It's okay, man. We're working on it. We're working on it. It's okay. Our intention's good. I slipped into the rut. I forgive you. I forgive me. Gentle with yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole forgiveness thing, we've talked about this many, many times over. Forgiveness and gratitude, they kind of go hand in hand. And yeah. So you talked about an indicator. You talked about feeling, just noticing, when something doesn't feel quite right. And this is the integrity piece that I think I brought up before, where I think all of us really value integrity. And integrity to me is a state of mind in which my thoughts, words, actions, and feelings are all in alignment. Well, if any one of those things gets out of alignment, I feel it in my body. I feel it. It's like I'm suddenly not following the direction that I think I'm supposed to be following. So if I pay attention to that, I can make course correction. I can get myself back on course. Another thing, excuse me, that I noticed for me anyway, and probably for a lot of other people, another indicator of ego mind getting in the way is when I'm doing this. I'm pointing fingers and I'm trying to blame somebody outside of myself. Whether it's a person, a thing, or a circumstance, or a condition, or an event, I then am making myself a victim. And my ego mind is pointing out to me, see how unsafe you are? See how bad things are for you? You've got to avoid this at all costs, because if you don't, you're just going to get demolished. So that's another indicator for me. The moment I see a finger starting to point out, whether it's physical or metaphorical, that's when I know, uh-oh, something's up for me. It's time to start paying attention.
Brilliant as always. Yeah, exactly. So it comes up in different ways in us, right? Some of us may be able to feel it. Some of us may be able to watch a behavior and catch that behavior, like the finger pointing behavior. Yeah, you're exactly right. So yeah, everyone has to kind of search for themselves. And maybe that's the exercise for today, is to kind of go inside and feel like, what does it feel like when I'm a little out of integrity? What does it feel like when my buttons get pushed? What does it feel like when I feel the anger kind of bubbling up in me? And just to start to recognize what that feels like. So as you're watching and as you're observing your ego from different angles, you kind of know the indicators, the flags that are being tripped.
Yeah.
Because then you'll be able to catch it before it explodes and before you embarrass yourself or say something you later regret, or do something silly. And so that's a great discussion, David, and a great step in there is to understand how it manifests in you.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Tommy. And I'd also like to add that one thing I'd like you folks to do this week: look inside and see your own diamond. Connect to it. Feel the energy of who you really are. And maybe take some time to do some journaling and write down all the qualities of that diamond that you just absolutely love and you would love for other people to recognize in you. How would you like other people to see you and recognize you and experience you? Because it's in there, and you have the choice, the capability, and the power to reveal it, to share it with people if you want to. Or you can let your ego mind keep talking and shut that down. The question I ask you is, what part of yourself can you reveal to the world this week?
Beautiful. Great exercise. 100% agree. And not everyone has to feel like you have to, let me take some fear might be popping up in people's heads. Doesn't mean you have to start your own Life Matters TV show. Doesn't mean you have to get on a stage. Doesn't mean you even have to talk. Sometimes just going in the garden and just being with the garden and being with the nature and just having that energy about you, maybe that's your diamond. Maybe just your presence and your peaceful being, or some inner sense of being again. Maybe that's where your diamond is. It doesn't have to be something that you even always have to show other people. Maybe you just show it to a tree. But do bring that out Sit with it. It's a beautiful exercise, David. And thanks for stating it that way. And it's almost like, and I think you said it, and I just said it again. Sit with it. It's your best friend. Sit with it. So next week, what are we doing, man? Well,
why don't you tell them?
So next week, so we say these things, right? You know, how to be the diamond, how to shine. And what a lot of us do, we cling onto the bar, right? We're hanging, we're like, no, I don't want to do that. And so next week, we're going to talk about letting go. Because a lot of us know we want to do this. We know we want to shine. We know we want to show up, whether it's to a tree or to, you know, thousands of people, but we're almost like trying hard to let go. So next week, we're going to talk about trying hard to let go and see what kind of silliness is in that statement. David, anything else before we say farewell?
I'm looking forward to another fantastic year with you, Tommy, and to see what we can create together. And with all these amazing people who come to listen to what we offer and to, you know, share it, I hope, with their friends. I love you guys. I love all of you. And I wish you the very, very best. And may you shine on, you crazy diamond. Bye-bye.
Peace, everybody.